The story of America is a story of constant struggle, a struggle for freedom, for equality, for the very soul of a nation. And no struggle has been more profound, more enduring than the fight for black liberation. This fight did not begin with marches or sit-ins, but generations before, etched in the scars of slavery, the Civil War brought the promise of emancipation, a beacon of hope for millions. But true freedom remained elusive. The chains of slavery were broken, only to be replaced by the shackles of segregation. Reconstruction, meant to rebuild and reconcile, instead laid the groundwork for another century of injustice. The fight for civil rights is a testament to the indomitable spirit of Black Americans. It's a story woven into the fabric of our nation, a reminder that the pursuit of justice demands unwavering courage and relentless determination. This is their story. This is our story. From the ashes of the Civil War rose a new form of oppression: Jim Crow. These laws, enacted throughout the South, were designed to disenfranchise and dehumanize Black Americans. They were a cruel mockery of the very ideals of equality upon which America was founded. Separate but equal, the mantra of this era was a lie. It permeated every facet of life: schools, restaurants, public transportation. Black people were relegated to inferior facilities, denied basic rights, and subject to constant humiliation and violence. In the face of this injustice, a spirit of resistance began to stir. Black newspapers, churches, and community organizations became vital spaces for organizing and strategizing. The fight for civil rights would be a long and arduous journey, but the seeds of change were being sown. Out of the darkness of Jim Crow emerged voices of defiance, individuals who dared to challenge the status quo. Webb Du Bois, a scholar and activist, co-founded the NAACP, demanding immediate and full equality for Black Americans. Ida B. Wells Barnett, a journalist and suffragist, fearlessly exposed the horrors of lynching, her words like firebrands igniting a movement. These early pioneers understood that freedom would not be granted. It had to be demanded. They organized, they educated, they agitated. They laid the groundwork for the mass movement that would sweep the nation in the coming decades. Their courage in the face of overwhelming opposition is a testament to the power of one voice to spark change. On a December evening in Montgomery, Alabama, a seamstress named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. Her act of defiance, a simple refusal to bow to segregationist laws, ignited a firestorm. The Montgomery bus boycott, led by a young minister named Martin Luther King Jr., lasted for over a year. It was a testament to the power of collective action as Black residents walked miles to work, organized carpools, and endured economic hardship. The boycott captured the nation's attention, exposing the absurdity and cruelty of segregation. It marked a turning point in the civil rights movement, a moment when ordinary people found their voice and demanded their dignity. The Montgomery bus boycott was a spark that ignited a nationwide movement. Across the South, students staged sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. Freedom riders challenged segregation on interstate buses, and activists organized voter registration drives. Images of peaceful protesters being met with fire hoses and police dogs shocked the nation's conscience. The brutality of segregation, long hidden behind a veil of Southern gentility, was exposed for the world to see. The movement gained momentum, its moral authority undeniable. The nation could no longer ignore the cries for justice, for equality, for basic human dignity. The time for change had come. The right to vote, a cornerstone of democracy, had long been denied to Black Americans in the South. Poll taxes, literacy tests, and intimidation tactics were used to suppress their political power. The fight for voting rights became a central focus of the civil rights movement. In 1965, the world watched in horror as peaceful marchers in Selma, Alabama, were brutally attacked by state troopers on Bloody Sunday. The images of that day, broadcast into living rooms across the nation, galvanized support for the Voting Rights Act, which was signed into law later that year, finally guaranteeing the right to vote for all citizens regardless of race. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 stand as monumental achievements of the civil rights movement. They outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, ushering in a new era of legal equality. These victories were hard won, achieved through the blood, sweat, and tears of countless activists who risked their lives and livelihoods for the cause of justice. Their legacy continues to inspire generations to fight for a more just and equitable society. The civil rights movement was a testament to the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change. It showed the world that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope can triumph over hate and love can conquer fear. While the civil rights movement achieved significant victories, the struggle for racial justice is far from over. Systemic racism continues to permeate our institutions, from criminal justice to healthcare to education. The fight for equality is an ongoing journey. We see its urgency in the ongoing struggle for police reform, in the fight for economic justice, and in the movement for Black Lives Matter. The echoes of the civil rights movement can be heard in the streets today as new generations raise their voices against injustice. The work of dismantling systemic racism requires constant vigilance and action. We must honor the sacrifices of those who came before us by continuing to push for a more just and equitable society for all. The civil rights movement was not just a moment in history, it was a catalyst for change that continues to shape our world today. It reminds us that the fight for justice is never truly over, that each generation must take up the mantle and carry the torch forward. As we remember the sacrifices made and the victories won, let us also acknowledge the work that still lies ahead. Let us honor the legacy of the civil rights movement by continuing to march towards justice, with hope in our hearts and a commitment to creating a world where equality is not a dream, but a reality. The march continues, the dream lives on, and the fight for justice goes on.